There is an old saying that it takes 21 days to form or break a habit. The popular phrase can be dated back to a plastic surgeon in the 60s who watched his patients take about 3 weeks to adjust to changes in their body. It was eventually picked up by authors and novelists and shared right around the world. But as psychologists and behavioural scientists have since discovered, habit formation is much more complex. Here to unpack what it takes to make or break a habit is psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens. Good morning.
Good morning, Susan.
Thanks for being with me today. Do you think it takes 21 days to form or to break a habit?
It would be nice if it was that straightforward a time frame, wouldn't it? Then we'd know that we're a week closer or 2 weeks closer. But what we do know is that, as you mentioned, that was from a particular observation made by someone in plastic surgery. And we know that actually the 21-day rule is a little bit more of a myth than a scientific fact. So the complexities that come with forming a habit really do depend on the behaviour of the person and their circumstances. So there's a little more to it than the straight 21 days, unfortunately.
Yeah, 21 days sounds quite achievable, actually. When we do talk about habits, what are some of the common ones that we're talking about making or breaking here?
The most common ones that people talk about are obviously the health and the lifestyle factors. So, whenever I'm talking to people, or, you've only got to think about the conversations you maybe have on New Year's Eve, which is usually when people start talking about changing behaviours. It'll be about nutrition, it'll be about physical activity, it'll often be about sleep. So we see lots of things in the health-related domains, but then we also see people will want to set themselves habits around perhaps study or work or parenting. So there's no area of our life really that isn't potentially something that we can be working on in relation to our habits.
So you said from the 60s that things is a bit of a myth. How long do you think it really takes to make or break a habit?
Again, I would say I'm going to have to sound like a fence sitter on this one because it does depend on the complexity of it. I think the other thing that makes a really big difference is how important the habit is to us. So, like a lot of the research collectively will say it's probably closer to about 66 days. But, sometimes we are given maybe medical news and need to make changes to our habits, and we can do it instantly. So I don't want people to feel like, this is going to be a 2 or a 3 month window. That if it's something that's really important to you and it's going to have a big impact on your life, habit changing can be instant.
Something that really aligns with your values and I guess flicks a switch or something in your brain so it can happen instantly, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. When we understand what the consequences are of our behaviours, that really helps us in terms of forming the decisions that we're actually engaging in.
Oh, that's
sorry about that noise in the background. I'm at a footy field. Can you tell?
I was worried that something was happening that you needed to go for. So just training on happening in the background. You are hearing from psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens, as well as the footy sirens in the background. So a 2010 study said that it could take between 59 and 154 days for a behaviour to become automatic. That's a huge window. Why does it vary so much between different people?
Yeah, it really does. We do see that variability, don't we? And the complexity of the habit itself, and I think sometimes it's about, is this a habit that want to start or wanting to create? So I want to start exercising regularly. That's one kind of habit. But then we've got the other kind of habit, which is where I need to stop doing a particular behaviour, where we need to unlearn it. So, I need to eat less junk food, or I need to not stay up so late. So one of the things I think we can really help ourselves with our habits is to understand why we're not doing it in the first place. That's often a good place to start. So that's why I think we see the variability, and it can depend on the successes that we've had with changing habits in the past as well. So our previous experience is also going to be important.
Yeah, a lot goes into it. So any tips or tricks for building or breaking lasting habits, Dr. Jo?
Yeah, look, I think starting off with some realistic goals, like I said before, a little bit of a look in the mirror and go, well, look, I'm not currently doing this behaviour, so why is that? And to do that from a curious mindset rather than a judgmental one, I think is an important thing. Having supportive environments, maybe sharing the habit changes that we're wanting to make with other people, and trying to find the positive alternatives and the reasons why we're going to be better off for making the change. All of those things, little factors, can really help us in building great habits that get us closer to our goals.
Dr. Joey, before I let you go, is there a nurse that you would like to give a shout out to, or nurses generally that you would like to give a shout out to this International Nurses Day?
Oh, what a wonderful day to celebrate all of our nurses. But a fairly recent nurse graduate, Ashley, who's working at palliative care at Townsville Hospital. She's an amazing young woman, and I know the difference she makes for the families and the people that she cares for is something really inspirational. But all of our nurses are just so wonderful.
They sure are. Dr. Joe, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and I'm glad you're nice and safe. Enjoy the footy field.
I think that was Murphy's Law in place.
Of course, always.
Great day.
Thank you. You are on ABC Queensland. Susan with you this morning. We are shouting out the amazing nurses, the men and women who've, answered that calling to help others.